He is the Jiu-Jitsu champion of Rio de Janeiro, the world light heavyweight champion, holding a 4th degree black belt with a record of 51-1. Please welcome, out of the red corner, Royce Gracie.
Gracie, the name became synonymous with mixed martial arts, and I can't really talk about Royce Gracie or even Jiu-Jitsu without the UFC. Like that first UFC event that, you know, we would pass around on VHS tapes. It was kind of like almost like a snuff film where there was real violence and real blood and people punching each other in the balls, and it was just something that we'd never seen before. And I was in high school when this came out, and I just remember it was just this. There was talk about it, and it was a looked down upon thing. But what I did see was this guy, Royce Gracie, wearing a gi, and he was destroying boxers, and more importantly, at the time I thought, like, you know, things like Kung Fu or Jeet Kune Do, Wing Chun, I thought those were like the king of all things. Like these things were so deadly that they couldn't be entered into competition.
Or you could just take him out that side, and if I hit him that direction now, you're gonna probably kill him. Gonna break the jaw off for sure. Help me get him up. Hit him up. You see the pupils, how dilated?
How's that? Like, you feel it behind the muscle, for sure.
Behind the muscle?
Yeah.
Inside. Yeah.
But when they were entered into competition, you saw the supremacy of Jiu-Jitsu and Royce Gracie.
It is almost impossible for a person trained primarily in punches and kicks to avoid being wrapped up and taken down by a Gracie Jiu-Jitsu practitioner. Royce is determined to close the gap and take the fight to the ground. Through a systematic, step-by-step approach, we have organized it into a science.
Everybody thought that size mattered, and if you're a big, strong, tough guy, that you'd win a fight easily, or if you're a biker or whatever, you know. Royce was the small, skinny guy that let everyone know that Jiu-Jitsu is real. You can't mess with technique if you don't train it.
Not one of the biggest guys in the competition, but he was dominating in a strange style, something I'd never seen before. He was on his back. He was even doing these kidney kicks with his feet. It was something unseen. Without the UFC at that time, there wouldn't have been this explosion of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is like a worldwide phenomenon right now. And the embodiment of that is Royce Gracie. So Royce Gracie, I put him like kind of like he's almost like the Neil Armstrong of Jiu-Jitsu. Like Neil Armstrong didn't build the rocket ship. He is the guy that walked on the moon. In the same way that Royce Gracie, he is the guy that kind of brought mixed martial arts into the world, and he was the spokesperson for Jiu-Jitsu. He had other brothers that were doing it, possibly even at a higher level, but the UFC was the biggest stage.
Lots of stories of why Royce was the one to come out in the first few UFCs. One of them, the kind of PR spin, is that they chose the skinniest, youngest. I don't know if he's the youngest, but he's amongst the youngest of his brothers. Least imposing. And they wanted to show the power of Jiu-Jitsu. A young, skinny man can defeat a bigger, stronger man.
I have brothers, they're a little bigger, heavier, or lighter, smaller, a little lighter weight. They could have done cousins, they could have done the same thing, but only one had to walk in there and do it. So if we put a bigger brother, it wouldn't be as impressive. That's what my father thought. And if you put a smaller brother or cousin, he could have done the same thing, but it might have taken a little longer.
So you were handpicked by your father in some ways, were you?
Oh, yes. Plus,
It was his decision.
It was his decision.
I think he did a lot for the UFC and MMA in general, for sure. Right? A lot of the true fight fans know his brother Rickson was probably more decorated and had more fights and stuff like that. But Royce did his thing for North America and for the States, I'd say, for North American MMA.
So that's one way to say it. They want to show that. Another way to say it is that his older brother Rickson would not do what Horian said, so they put Royce in because Royce would listen to Horian.
Why wasn't Rickson in? Because Rickson was the champion of the family.
Oh, no doubt.
By far.
And even back then, Royce came out in articles and said, my brother Rickson is 10 times better than me.
Always said that.
And he wasn't lying.
Yeah, he said, I will go to train tonight and my brother will tap me 100 times.
Yep. You're so good at that. And no doubt Rickson is the best one in the family. But Rickson, at that time, is training people out of Torrance. And then he opens up his own studio in West L.A.
Ah, Pico.
Yes. And when he opened up his studio in West L.A., Horian went, whoop, you're not going to, the person that is going to be fighting in this is going to be representing my school. Horian, marketing-wise, said, oh, it was because Rickson is this big guy, and I wanted it to be the small guy.
Oh, so that was Horian saying that?
Oh, yeah. Horian's the one that came out with that.
So he said that just because he needed an excuse for why he couldn't control Rickson.
Yep.
Some drama, I don't know. But to everybody, he did embody this idea that goes back to Elio Gracie. Elio Gracie, small, frail, sickly, got so good at jiu-jitsu that he could beat bigger, stronger men. And this is an idea that persists to this day. This is how I approach jiu-jitsu. I think that if I do jiu-jitsu correctly, I should be able to beat anybody, no matter their size. And so if I'm competing against somebody who's way bigger than me and I don't destroy him, that's my own imperfect jiu-jitsu. And Royce really, really embodied that. One of the best examples is when he fought Kimo.
Kimo believes he is a warrior in the service of the Lord and has dedicated his efforts in the octagon to his faith. This third-degree black belt in the art of Taekwondo is a practicing minister who travels 6 months out of the year preaching the gospel.
And Kimo came out carrying a cross. You know what I'm talking about? Come out carrying a cross. He just looks jacked. He's what everybody thought like an Ultimate Fighter would look like. He takes Royce down. Royce grabs the back of his hair.
He's trying to get the arm. Look at this. He's trying to get the arm here. He's trying to get an arm lock. He's got him. Kimo tapped out. Kimo tapped out. What a great fight that was. What a great fight. What a great fight that was. He was limping, and they didn't even shake hands at the end of the bout.
We owe a lot to Royce Gracie for shining in that early moment and bringing this to the world. He accomplished some amazing things back when the UFC was a tournament, so he would be doing multiple fights in a night, and he was able to reign for a few events. So quite amazing accomplishment.
Without the early adoption of the UFC, jiu-jitsu would have been this like niche martial art, of which there are many, Krav Maga or something like that. We would maybe hear about it, but martial arts would not be where it is now. Nowadays you can go to any city and they have multiple jiu-jitsu schools. The bigger the city, the more they have. That was not the case before the UFC. Before the UFC, maybe there's some karate schools, maybe some judo, but now it's absolutely standard jiu-jitsu everywhere. And that's something that I'm eternally grateful for, As someone who travels the world doing jiu-jitsu, it's a huge blessing that was not available to anybody else in history, solely because of the early UFC. When I got into MMA, when I was in high school, Royce Gracie was way past his prime. He was no longer a dominant champion. Those days were long gone. But I did have a good first experience of him. It was when he came back out of retirement to fight Matt Hughes. And at the time, Matt Hughes was dominant.
And when Royce said he would step up, I was like, ooh, this is the changing of the guard. This is the fight where the young dude, who's also a good wrestler, has submissions, right? Has picked up some heavy striking. Matt Hughes had okay striking, right? And I didn't think Royce was going to win that fight. That was like one one turning point where you could see the evolution of MMA had changed yet again, from the traditional guys who was really good at one sort of style to Matt Hughes being very, very well-rounded with a wrestling background. So that was interesting to see. I remember that fight and I was like, oh, this is a monumental, sentimental fight.
For Royce, he's sitting there so confident, looking like a Jedi master. He says, I came to the UFC to teach everybody Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. Now everybody knows Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. You're welcome. Like, how can Matt Hughes beat him? Is he gonna use Jiu-Jitsu? If so, mission accomplished. The torch is passed.
Trying to utilize the side control on Royce. This is not a good position for Royce to be in.
He loves this position. He's got his back. Wow! Fight.
Could this be over here? Can Royce defend himself?
Wow, that's it.
All over. Matt Hughes has defeated Royce Gracie.
Royce is the patron saint, you know. He was never the best in jiu-jitsu. He's not even the best in his family, but he's the one who went out there, got the name out there, and we all owe a huge debt of gratitude.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 3 rounds of action, we have a unanimous decision. Here are the score totals. Judge at ringside, Cecil Peoples, scores about 30-27. Judges Nelson Hamilton and Richard Bertrand both scored about 29-28. All three in favor of the winner, Royce Gracie.